all of a sudden you know better than the other person. Pretend that they're stupid. Only 1 in 25 people have one of them diagnoses. But you just say mentally ill as a general blanket all for cruelty. When you get busted doing something wrong, doing something illegal, something immoral, you're taught to go for that, aren't you? Especially if it's someone who's easy to victimize, somebody who's homeless, somebody who's autistic, somebody who's got Down syndrome, somebody who's elderly, or a child who can't speak. Predators know exactly what they're doing. Whether they be police officers, lawyers, judges, or your sicko grandpa who couldn't keep his nasty cockbeaters to himself. I'm going to call Claire Jordan. She might still be missing, I don't know. That's one of the things I hope to find out. She was talking about coming back this direction and helping me, and then she just vanished. Used to that. Fucking hay truck. That always makes my allergies worse. Then my eyes are all bloodshot, and my nose is all clogged, and makes me sickly.
Hello?
Hello, Claire. This is Sean.
Oh, hey, Sean. How's it going?
Pretty good. I made a missing persons thing about you on YouTube because when you disappeared and then like you never got back in contact with me and all that, I wanted to first of all make sure that you're not dead and thank you for not being dead.
And thank you for calling and checking. You're actually the only person that's ever asked. So that's why, yeah, I had my phone turned off for a little bit, and then I was just trying to work. So, because I got a job, so I've been working full time.
Oh, did I interrupt you at work?
No, I have today off. So.
Oh, very good. I know a lot of the problems that we were having here. I mean, you guys are stressed out, and I was stressed out, and we're all getting kicked around like mules. You were absolutely right about TFCC, but better than that, I actually recorded them doing that to me.
Did you?
I
That's
did.
an excellent thing to have, because holy crap. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and then Open Door on the other side of Hallmark Forest wasn't any better. They ended up being just as weird, and like, so yeah, that's what happened. Is I basically ended up at the point where like I didn't have anywhere to go. Casey got a spot in, Open Doors little pod housing, and then I ended up in like a homeless shelter that was a big open room where the guys were like following the women into the bathrooms, and then they were kicking people out like for smoking weed and then going around the corner and smoking meth. And so I was like, yeah, these people are on a power trip, so I got to get out of here.
They don't quite understand what a safe place is for us. That's the thing, is that shoving us into an area with a bunch of drug addicts, having us go to peer support, which are people that are drug addicts. Like, you didn't even smoke weed while you were here.
Yeah, exactly. So I've never done that stuff, so I have like not voluntarily. I'm pretty sure I've got spiked with everything under the sun while I was out there. But
me too. Here in Tillamook, I don't accept anything that people give me. I just throw it away. If they insist on me taking it, I'll take it, but it still gets thrown away.
Yeah.
You were right about the way they treat people who are autistic here, though, and I wanted to let you know there's about 6 or 7 people here that I'm hoping we might be able to get together and do a class action suit against them. The two big things that I'm looking at is the stuff that I have recorded, and then the fact that you don't abduct somebody's kids like that, you know.
Exactly. And then I called the state board for like the CPS oversight board for Oregon, and it turns out that those mandatory reporters never filed reports. Not one of them.
Did you you were recording that, right? I know you got into that habit. I hope you kept up on it.
Yeah. And so what I got was the Ombudsman Oversight Board director investigated it for like 3 weeks for me, and it turns out that the only on the books thing that ever happened was me calling CPS to do a welfare check on my children. But none of the other thing, and they said that everything was fine, and the only reason that I didn't have custody of them was because I didn't have a place for them to live. And that was all the report said. And there was absolutely no other reports filed, unlike what they all were saying, the offices and like whatever advocate was saying that he was a CPS worker wasn't actually a CPS worker. And he was telling people that, he was authorizing like a restraining order or whatever, keeping me away from the kids. That actually has never been on the books either. And like the ombudsman for the state of Oregon was actually pretty surprised, because he was like, your voice message initially was pretty frantic, and like everything you're talking about, I don't see any of that in here. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, the Tillamook County gave me the runaround for 6 freaking months, and like there's nothing on the books about it. So
I've got the same thing. I've got over 300 calls now since I got to Tillamook, over 300 calls and visits, all of it costing me money, all of it them giving me the runaround, all of them sending me to, like, you as a peer support would have been perfect had you not literally just had your kids stolen.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, a lot of people were mad at me for not being, well, I was mad at the situation, I mean, I understood completely what was going on and why it was going on, and that's the thing, is that with all the other people they're sending me to for peer support, they're drug addicts. They don't show up ever.
Yeah.
But I have them recorded doing that, giving me the runaround in the same places that they sent you to. You were right about them taking advantage of people, specifically people who are autistic, especially if they're high functioning and intelligent, and using their intelligence back and forth with the mentally ill tag, trying to infer schizophrenia and things of that nature.
And when it's actually, totally stressed out autism.
Yeah. The lady at the TFCC, one of the ladies that I talked to, she was supposed to help. She did literally everything that she could to antagonize the situation instead of taking a report, always changing the subject or trying to be as distractive as possible with questioning that is completely off base or out of line or has nothing to do with the situation. Trying to change the subject to housing every single time, not turning it in as mandated reporters. I mean, everything that you were describing and that these other people were describing, I have 7 months worth of it, and also the names of perpetrators.
Forest Grove has a bunch of people doing fake IDs through the Open Door Foundation. So you might want to look into that, because what they were doing through Open Door is like somebody at the front desk would take in a homeless person. They would write down what they say their name is and then be like, oh, I don't have ID. And they'd be like, okay, well, I'll just sign this piece of paper and you take it over to this one office and they'll print you a new ID. And it's whatever you said your name was. And I was like, this is not how you issue valid forms of identification.
That piece of paper they're signing states that they've known that person for 10 years or longer.
Yeah, and so what it was is like these people actually didn't know of them, for 10 years or longer. And I walked in and I was like, hey, actually I could use a new Social Security card because mine is gone. It's not just lost; it's definitely gone. And I need that. And I was like, so somebody told me that you just need to fill out a form for me. And within 12 hours, they had the cops removing me, saying that I needed to leave the property because I'd overstayed my welcome.
When I spoke up about that, when you said it was okay to record, I was trying to tell you that these guys, well, you were telling me the same thing. I mean, this is stuff that, ma'am, they as soon as you have an issue in one place with the cops and they get you stuck with that tag, it follows you everywhere. The fact that they're not documenting any of the crimes.
I didn't get arrested or anything, but the police came up and they're like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Well, I was told that I could, since I can't be in one of the pods, that I could at least be in my car through the weekend and then find somewhere else to go." And they were like, "Oh no, they're telling us that you're supposed to leave right now." And I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "First we have to search your car for weapons." I was like, "Okay, go for it." And I was like, "I think there's a buck knife under the seat, because I was living in a fucking tent." And
Yep.
So they pulled that out, and then they're like, "Okay, no problem." And then, I left, but it wasn't until, I had told the people that I wanted whatever form it was that they were handing out to everybody else to get like a new ID, and then they like looked like scared, and like didn't even acknowledge that was something that they do. So it seems super fishy, and it was also fishy that like people aren't having to like obtain a birth certificate to go get a new copy of their ID or something. It's just like a piece of paper that these people pick and choose who they want to do that for.
Well, I can verify that your emotional radar is on.
Any information they want. Huh?
I said I can verify that your emotional radar is on. You're pretty right about how people feel. Not necessarily what they're thinking, but they're feeling for sure. I shouldn't have interrupted you, though, because what you were saying is important. What I wrote down so far is just open door ID fraud, and I'm sure there's a lot more details to it. What was the first part of it, though? Where's it at?
Forest Grove, which is just outside of Portland. So it's on the other side of the forest, from Tillamook. And then also the homeless shelter in Tillamook, the one that's out at the old military base or whatever.
Yep.
They're double dipping food stamps. And I think that they're setting themselves up as payees for people that are on SSI staying there. So the guys were actually bragging about how basically like that shelter was doing its own group form of like food stamp allocation for the entire shelter, and then encouraging the residents to go also apply for their food stamps in Oregon, and then also go apply in like Washington State. And so like a couple of the dudes in there were bragging, including Jeff. His name is Jeff. I don't know his last name. But he was bragging. He was like, "Yeah, I'm getting double food stamps this month. We're all going to be eating good because a couple of us went over and we got it from multiple states, and the shelter is going to get their stuff." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so illegal. What are you talking about? Don't tell me this crap." But
I busted them committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud the same way that they did to you, sending you to the services, running around in circles, not making reports, ignoring everything having to do with any of the crimes committed by the police or these agencies. They were literally, I have them literally recorded saying that they were sending me to their literal friends in these agencies that you warned me about and that I had gone to that committed these same crimes. I mean, I have enough that we, as far as the one here, that we can take them down for that.
Oh, I know. I'm actually surprised that I did submit them just like whistleblowers type of reports to the higher agencies like DEA and CDC because of the unsanitary conditions. Like one of the the homeless shelter, it was just a big open room with bunk beds where all the dudes were like sneaking in on the girls in the shower. That one has like a full-size service kitchen, but they don't even have proper floor drains or proper drains set up. So like for like a week there, they had raw chicken in sinks that were clogged, and there was no floor drain to drain like the trap down into, which means that it's not actually up to code for cooking for, like that kind of purpose. But it was actually just full of raw chicken for a couple days. And like the whole homeless shelter was like herking and shitting for a while. I didn't eat anything because I was like, oh no, I'm not touching the food out of there right now.
Well, is it like mainly geared towards addicts, like the shelter here? Because that does give
No,
them every
open
extra
door, they
money.
don't. Yeah, the shelter in Tillamook is like almost 100% aimed at narcotics addicts, and that's why they were saying, well, you can't stay here because you're not participating. I was like, I don't need to participate because I've never done narcotics illegally. I've had surgery. That's it. And like, so that's why I got kicked out of there. But no, open door, they are just open for whoever. And it's really easy to get signed up with like their basic little shower hut and like free hot lunch thing. They're pretty stingy about taking their own vacation time in unpredictable ways. Like they were closed for 2 weeks around Christmas. And that's like the absolute worst thing to do is like show up and think that you're going to get your weekly shower and find out that they're not going to be there for 2 weeks.
That's more important for women. No offense, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that they're still doing to me, Brian, right? The one with the black dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gucci. I just petted her this morning. The problem is he's not reliable. He is one of the addicts down here, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
thing is,
Casey was buying off of him, I'm pretty sure. Casey was running around telling people that I was pregnant and trying to pawn money off of them, and then he'd come back to me with like $2 or something, but then suddenly him and Brian would be off in the woods for a couple hours. So
well, when you were explaining that situation right after I left up there because I got frustrated and was scared, and you were telling me about being basically stuck up there and trapped for 2 weeks with him, that's the thing. I don't think that you should have to get stuck in that kind of a situation to try to work together with somebody to try to get your kids back.
yeah.
That's something where almost all of us, we have.
But I have to say, Sean, having a man that was like, oh yeah, this is my, just don't mind her, she needs help with this thing, they would just do it. But like if he asks for anything for himself, they would shun him. If I asked for anything for myself, they would shun me. The second that he turns around and he's just like, oh yeah, that's my girlfriend, don't mind her, she's stupid, they're like, oh, that's so sweet, and I'll do anything. I was like, that's screwed up, and I can't do that. That's not how I operate. I'm way too independent for that.
Yeah,
but
the only time
I
you're
was going to go
stupid
over to
is when you're
Tillamook and check
stressed.
on
Same
my
with me.
friends. And huh?
I said the only time you're stupid is when you're stressed. Same as me. We make dumb decisions when we're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And not always are they dumb decisions. Sometimes they just don't make sense to others because they don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have
Or they have no
interrupted you again.
context for it. Yeah.
Yeah, the context is important in a court of law, which is what makes it so that I can get new court dates and all of it, plus all of the evidence that was refused.
Yeah.
But also, like in a lot of these situations, they're trying to prevent the victims and the witnesses from working together, lying to the victims, also lying to the witnesses, and saying things like, "Oh, well, you can't turn something in for someone."
According to my kids, now that I have them back, he's talking about how I have my kids. And they were saying that the landlord was telling the kids that he was going to shoot me in the head if I came anywhere near them or the house or the property. And so they were freaking out and hiding because they thought they were going to have to see their mom get shot in the head. And I just found that out like 3 weeks ago. And then, but also he was absolutely trying to indoctrinate my ex into their local Masonic temple. And this guy would get
totally fucking shit-faced and start talking about, like, oh, here's our secret handshake for our boys club kind of thing. And so Nathaniel Hunt has a lot to do with how, like, the reasons it got as fucked up as it did. And he's absolutely from the local Mason temple and was trying to be all braggy about that. And he has, the founded CPS case report against him already and stuff. So, like, all these things, it could have been so simple for, like, my dumbass ex to just be like, oh my God, this guy's nuts, and let's get a restraining order, and then everything could have moved on, still.
But he wanted to listen to some crazy guy. Sorry,
but
I
then
shouldn't
he just
say
let
that.
this guy indoctrinate him, twist his brains around, and then, like, it's just the weirdest thing. Like, my ex is trying to explain to me how his reasons for backing the landlord in trying to shoo me away, like, as if it was for my own good to protect me. And I was like, oh my God, like, he doesn't even remember reality anymore about being out there after what that stupid town did to us. So.
Well, I'm glad that you're out of here for your safety. The really, really freaky thing is you were gonna come back, and then all of a sudden I couldn't get a hold of you. It wouldn't even go through. I'm like, all right, either she fucking blocked me, which means that I probably said something she didn't like, or she's with somebody who is being controlling.
Looking at the gas mileage and time and the weather and stuff to book it straight back to Boco. And I was like, oh crap, if I backtrack to Tillamook, I'm going to hit this storm. And so I ended up just taking as many trash bags of, like, recycling cans and stuff as I could possibly, like, gather. Well, just sort of like hunting trash cans all the way out of Oregon, cashing them in for gas money, and then ended up getting together enough gas money to go all the way back to Colorado.
So you're in, I hope you're not in Colorado.
I'm in Colorado, yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
you're seeing all the tents down there?
Huh?
Are you seeing all the tents down there?
It's not as bad as it was out there on the West Coast. But, like, I'm next up on, housing, and I have a full-time job. I didn't have to explain to anybody here, what kind of work ethic I have. I just put down the last place I work and they call them, And so I was able to get a job. Like, out in Tillamook, like, if I put makeup on and look presentable enough for a job, then all the homeless resources would kick me out saying I don't really need it. And then as soon as I take the makeup off, they're like, oh my God, you must be an addict or something. You look like crap. and then they won't give me the help that I need. And I couldn't get a job looking like that. So there was actually a couple times in the homeless shelter in Forest Grove where I went to my car and put on makeup so that I could go apply for jobs. And just going in and using the bathroom and walking back out, they're like, if you're just going to loiter in your car and you don't really need us, you should just get the fuck out. And I was like, what? I'm just trying to look presentable for like, applying for jobs so I can get back on my feet. And so it's just the double standard thing is really hard out there. And out here, at least I know what to expect from, Boulder County.
Yeah. Oh my God. You're in Boulder County?
I'm in Larimer, but...
That's almost as bad. Johnstown is the... Oh, shit, sorry. Johnstown is the behavioral health. Used to be clear. That one I was telling about where they killed Tibor Hatay and where they were holding people longer than they should have. The one that got shut down, they reopened it as Johnstown, and now they're trying to close it down because they're doing the same things. So Larimer County is a scary place.
Yeah, but I got a job in this point because I don't have to, like, I didn't have to explain anything, I just walked back into town and they're like, holy shit, you're alive. And I'm like, yeah, you got a job? And within 5 days, I had a job and a place to stay. It's 6 months all over the freaking place trying to make it work out there. And I'm back here for 5 freaking days, and it's already like, there's the gears turning again.
Absolutely. That's the thing about me not being able to go back to Colorado and see my loved ones after I left Virginia. People don't understand how much it It screws us.
These people freaking hate me. At least I know mine.
Right.
It's not good, you know.
That's probably how they'll end up getting me to go back to Colorado and end up hemming me up. One of these people who hates me will end up going missing, and they'll contact me and say, hey, don't tell anybody, come back to Colorado and save me. And everybody calls me Captain Save-A-Ho, and it's mean because I've done the same thing to help men. But I'll go back, some person who is my friend who threw a tantrum and don't like me will say that they need help, and I'll go back there, and then I'll get arrested.
Don't do that. Take care of you.
I'm doing the best I can.
I do have to get off the phone, but yeah, absolutely. I would love to help you in a class action for that because it goes way up to the top. Like I said, I had to call the main state oversight boards and things like that to even get them to acknowledge like anything. And the oversight boards are like, holy crap, there's actually nothing on file. So
well, I'll text you my email address. I'm gonna let you go because I'm super glad that you're alive, and I am glad to hear so much about how well you're doing. You're fucking badass.
I just kind of was panicking because my car's head gasket was going out. So yeah, I just panicked my way all the way back to Colorado, and there's not a lot of cell phone service in that direction. So.
Well, you be safe, and thank you very much for not dying.
Thank you very much for checking to see if I was dead. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that you're still kicking. And just, message me whatever you need help with, like that I can do. I'm have my kids, so I'm obviously super busy with that. But like, there's
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
be specific things where you're like, I have to have Claire sign this statement or whatever.
Claire understands autism from the inside, not from the point of our predators like autism speaks.
Yes, exactly.
You rock. Thank you.
Thank you. Hang in there. Air hug.
Air hug.
Talk to you later.
Bye. Yes! Yes! Goodness. Now I'm gonna give her my email address and make a video because I am fucking excited. Yeah!